everyone, and welcome to this show of Wisdom Keepers of Earth. Today, I have an amazing guest. Her name is Pam Gregory. She's an astrologer, but she's also an author. She has enlightened us with her passion for astrology for 45 years. And she sees astrology as a profound and sacred language of geometry and meaning that helps us to see the bigger picture for ourselves and how we can co-create a better life for ourselves as well. Pam is also the author of several books. One favorite of mine in particular is How to Co-Create Using the Secret Language of the Universe. And her other book, which is wonderful as well, You Don't Really Believe in Astrology, Do You?, is a fun romp into learning about your birth chart and the basics of astrology. So welcome, Pam.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you, Melinda.
Warmest alohas here from Hawaii. I want to ask you a few questions about yourself and how you got involved in astrology. Just some basic things. So how did you first get into astrology? Was there a moment where you were seeking and prompted you to change?
Yes. As soon as I'd finished university, there was a big recession in the UK. And actually from about the age of 12, bizarrely, I always wanted to go to Canada. I always wanted to emigrate to Canada. And I started to write to Canada House when, I was 12 and 13 and said, I'm coming to Canada. And they said, well, you've got to be 18 at least. But I finished university, finished my degree, and then I just hopped on a plane with $100, no job, didn't know anyone, way before the age of mobile phones or whatever, and arrived in Toronto and started a new life. And it must have been a massive time of personal growth for me, because in the first week I started a yoga class, and there was a big chap from Jamaica there. And at the end of the class, one of the girls said, he's an astrologer. So I went up to him and said, look, I know nothing about this subject, but I'd love you to do my chart. And I saw him a week later. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I spent 7 hours with him. In his tiny flat in Toronto. It's like the whole world had just cracked open to reveal this whole dimension of meaning that up to that point I'd been completely unaware of. And from that point on, I could not stop learning. And I still haven't stopped. I'm still learning every day. And I could go on for many more lifetimes and I'd still be learning. It's really vast. But yes, that was the moment.
Was there a particular teacher that you had that you just really got into and followed, or did you follow several different?
There were several ones. I was self-taught initially when I stayed in Toronto. When I got back to London, I joined the Faculty of Astrological Studies, which is a very well-respected, very traditional teaching school of astrology. And because I was working full-time, I was doing sort of evenings and weekends there for 8 years to get my first diploma. And then I went on to do a master's course. And yeah, there were some world-class teachers. I was so lucky. World-class teachers who aren't with us anymore. I mean, Charles Harvey had the brain of several galaxies, how to support us. And the person who taught the master's course was a giant in many ways. He was 6'11", and originally had been an opera singer. So he was a gigantic presence. And his name was Noel Till. And he died about 3-4 years ago, but he was a technical genius. And I'm so grateful I did that course, because I did it in record speed, because I was very aware of his age. And I thought, I've got to finish this before he kind of pops off. And I did. And I'm immensely grateful, because that was just a game changer for me in terms of my knowledge.
Oh, my goodness. It felt like you knew that this was your path. You got sparked into your true purpose here. And by taking the risk.
I've done this before for sure. I mean, I know I've done it before.
You knew?
Yeah. Yes, I even know who I was in certain lifetimes, having done this before.
Ah, and so but when you came to this, it seems like the first step was you had to take that trip. You had to take the trip to Canada. You needed to have the courage to just go forward, and that something would show itself.
Yeah.
That was a leap of faith.
And it was amazing because in that session, the astrologer, the Jamaican astrologer, had talked a lot about my past, but he also was talking about the future. And in several house moves, I lost the tape. And about 5 years after I'd arrived, leaving because the winters got to me in Toronto, and I was coming back to England, and I found the tape. These are many years ago, and we had tapes then. So I found the tape. So I was playing the tape as I was packing boxes to leave the country. And it said, September the 4th, 1979 will be a major turning point in your life. And the following month will be one of the major highs in your life. Well, that day I was packing up to leave the country. And the following month, I was sitting at 19,000 feet in the Himalayas. Oh. So that was a very literal high that I've obviously never forgotten. So he was absolutely spot on. So I was completely hooked at that point.
And you went to the Himalayas because I have to ask.
Yeah, that was another kind of touchstone. I went there several times, and that just felt like home. Did lots of trekking in the Himalayas up to quite reasonable heights, about 19,000 feet, and just adored it. I'd have been happy if it was possible to stay there, teach English maybe, and live there. It just, the air is so fine and still, and they have an incredible life that is still so tuned into nature that in modern civilization so often we've forgotten. It was exquisite, actually.
So have you discovered any of personal innovations through your astrological experiences? I mean, have you come to new moments of teaching or new realizations as you've gotten away? As we make something our own, it tends to reveal to us new things. Has that happened?
Oh, yeah. Oh, thousands, I think. I mean, that happens every day because, inevitably you end up working with clients where there's some kind of resonance with you as well. So you learn something about self, although you're focused very much on the client. And I don't know, Melinda, what my life would have been without it. It has given me so much richness, such incredible meaning and purpose and dimension to my life. I don't know where I'd be without it, because it's a practical framework, but it's also obviously a highly spiritual subject as well. That it was one of the original subjects in the mystery schools. It was one of the fundamental subjects. And so I think it remains as that, and is being increasingly rediscovered as that, actually.
Yes, I read that in your co-creating book. I love that. One of the things that I really feel that I'm beginning to understand with some astrology is the link to mythological characters. It never occurred to me before. And I think it gives a powerful depth of understanding so that it assists us in visualizing our life. For instance, the Hemera goddess you spoke about in a recent video I saw, the goddess of fertility, also seen as a quantum energy and a strong symbol of rebirth. That right now is where we're at, is it not? This transition and rebirth into these new times.
And very linked to Hawaii, of course. There's originally the Hawaiian goddess, in Hawaii, goddess of fertility. So these Kuiper belt objects, way beyond the orbits of Pluto, they've all, as far as I've investigated, they're not only generally created gods and goddesses, they also have this quantum quality of things can just manifest in a moment. If you can get your focus and your intention clear and hold that like holding a note, things just manifest and you change in a trice. Reality changes in a trice. And that's one of the reasons I love it, investigating that kind of band in the cosmos, but also dwarf planets like Haumea. You're seeing that she's one of the strong symbols for New Earth. And we're seeing that already, that people are getting together in communities and saying, okay, we're going to get some land, we're going to grow our own food, we're going to start again, we're going to get out of the system, and we're going to create our new Earth in community.
We're seeing evidence of that here in Hawaii. That has already started here with many groups, yes.
It's global, I think, Melinda.
Oh, I'm so excited for this. I want to get back to one thing in particular, though, with respect to those who, astrologers, it seems to me like there's been an evolution of astrologers over the last 20 years. In other words, when I had readings done for myself, wanting to know, I found that later on, looking back, the reading itself and the interpretation of my chart was only as encouraging and valid and helpful as the awareness level of the one who was reading it.
Totally.
I had some readings that I thought, oh my God, my life is over. This is it. And then I get another reading from another person who says, oh, no, you're God's trust fund baby. What are you worried about?
Yeah, totally. And that's the issue, really. You can only help people to the level of consciousness that you are currently at. But what's exciting about the Kuiper Belt objects is they are offering us a whole new level of consciousness to which we are ascending pretty damn quickly, actually.
Yes. So what would you call this time frame? I mean, I know what I call it. It feels chaos, but 2022 to 2024, we're kind of jumping ahead in the sequence here. But I talked to Roy Duff about that, and he felt like this next 2 years were important as we will be shown our weaknesses, we'll be given an opportunity to make better choices, we'll be growing with the help from these cosmic energies that are coming in as well. So what do you see 2022 to 2024?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, 2022 for me is the real cauldron, the really intense year of transformation. And right at the beginning of the year, in the early days of January, I put out a video talking about the themes for 2022. And I still stand by those because I talked a lot there about turbulence, volatility, chaos, breakdown, demolition of the old system, and at the same time, bliss. So we are going through a massive collapse of the old order. And I think people can see that very clearly. But the old order is desperately trying to increase their control to hang on. But it's like a hollow shell. It's just not working any longer. And so I think there are going to be some major revelations and disclosures of truth, particularly late July, early August. I think that's going to be a massive wave of awakening. And then as we get into the autumn time, September, October is an incredibly powerful month, extremely eruptive and explosive. So this breakdown has to happen. You know, if you're putting in a new kitchen, you can't put the new kitchen units in on top of the old ones, is the analogy I often use. You have to smash out the old units before you put in the new ones. So this is where we're at. We're in the demolition site this year, but at the same time, at phenomenal, breathtaking speed, we are forming grassroots communities, collaborations, people's councils. I'm very lucky in the UK. I'm in a very strong group that has taken on its own organic momentum. I mean, some people are expert in education, homeschooling, others are expert in growing food, others are expert in common law, others are expert in natural medicine. I feel so honored to be in that group. And so that has just taken off. And people are initiating, with their separate specialities to share the information that we're developing, because why do they have to reinvent the wheel when we've already gone through that thought process? So it's very interesting. And also a recent initiative only 7 weeks ago in the UK was something called the People's Health Alliance. Our national health system is under enormous strain, particularly the last 2.5 years. The whole idea of the People's Health Alliance is let's bring people together, both allopathic practitioners, nurses, doctors, but also alternative practitioners, healers, therapists, etc. Find premises in each local area and offer a wellness hub where people can go to be seen. Because there's been, for many people, no way to do that in our state system. It just couldn't cope. And that in 7 weeks, I think there are now 90 hubs in the UK. As of last Friday morning, 14 countries had applied to get the setup template, 26 states in America within 7 weeks. I mean, it is just, so that is a grassroots up, the power of the people, by the people, for the people, where we are going with Aquarian energy. So it isn't just this year that we're looking at demolition and we'll be standing in the rubble at the end of the year, which I think we will anyway. But, the upsurge of New Earth is happening at the same time because humanity is very, very creative and innovative and they're on it already. They're saying, do you know what, we're done with this. We're going to create a beautiful world. It's so exciting. I mean,
yes.
It's
a very exciting time.
If you can focus on that, if you can find a group of like-minded people, either online or physically, even better, your focus is, what do we create? How do we make a better world? How do we make it more loving, more sharing? And what's interesting in that shift, Melinda, is that we are moving very fast from in the past being much more service to self. You are defined by the title or your income or your wealth or whatever. We're moving lickety-split into service to others. What's my contribution to society? How can I help others? What gifts and skills do I have to help others? I don't care about what money I earn. What can I give to the greater community? And it brings me to tears to see what people are doing for others in that community. Honestly, it's so humbling. It is humanity at its best. And I think because in lockdown, many of us were so starved if we lived on our own of human connection. It's so precious now.
Yes, it absolutely is. So 2023 feels like a continuation of the rebuilding of the new choices. That's what it feels like it's going to happen.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, I didn't answer your question fully. I mean, Rory Duff, whose work I follow, who I love, he's a friend of mine, looking down the timeline, he may have mentioned in the interview with you that as of December 2024, all of the Earth's energy lines come into harmony for 200 years of peace.
Oh.
So that is what we're aiming for. So 2023, yes, it's a continuation of 2022, but we will see more green shoots of New Earth, I believe. And that will continue through 2024 as well. Big shifts of consciousness in 2024. It's interesting. Some very big planetary moves are happening. For instance, Pluto moves out of Capricorn. It's been there since 2008. And starts to move into Aquarius. It won't move fully into Aquarius, interestingly, till December 2024, same month that Rory Duff is talking about. And that, yes, can have a very low level of expression of control by technology, something very technocratic and dystopian. Yeah, focus on that. That's the timeline you'll get. But it can have a much higher expression of the power of the people, taking their power back and creating a new world. And that's where I'm headed.
That's the how good can it get?
Yep.
As a friend of mine says, how good can it get? Cynthia Sue Larson.
Yeah. What else is possible? Yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to step back and go back to your book for a moment, Co-Creating Consciousness. And I want to mention a paragraph that I thought was very encouraging for these times. I'm going to read it to you from your book, How to Co-Create Using the Secret Language of the Universe, Using Astrology for Your Empowerment. One very powerful step for each of us in the creation of our reality is the unique template which we operate from, and that is your birth chart. Consider this to be like your DNA. Your experiences will always reflect your birth chart. After studying many thousands of charts, it's clear that people's lives are always on strategy with the unfolding symbolism in their chart. A life is never off strategy. We may play our unique sheet of music badly or beautifully, but that is the sheet of music that will play in our lives. From your book, Pam. I felt that was so encouraging because it means that I'm still on track, no matter what. I'm still going to. I still have my template.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Sorry, go ahead, Melinda.
Yes, no, I just want people to know that, if you're feeling right now this chaos and things are shifting for you, don't worry. You're on your chart. It's okay. Things will unfold.
These are massively transformational times for us. We have the biggest opportunity, not just in this lifetime, but in many, many lifetimes. You know, the fact that we're moving through the photon belt for the first time in 12,000 years and receiving all this very high frequency photonic light. The fact that we're often having more coronal mass ejections, M-class and X-class flares in a day than we had in the whole of 2018. And all of those are bringing new information from other galaxies. It's unstoppable. The new electromagnetic energy that is coming into us is unstoppable. So whatever they're doing in the skies, whatever their job title, whatever the company they're working with, they cannot stop that high frequency energy coming into us. And we're going in quantum leaps in terms of our evolution. And that's really exciting.
So in terms of helping people stay on their, playing the sheet music beautifully, what would be your recommendations for that?
Yeah, because everybody is really always playing that sheet of music, as I say, badly or beautifully. Because when I have a client session, I don't know how they will be living their life until I speak to them. But I can go back with dates and times and ages, and they will always be spot on. I won't know the quality of the exact experience, but I know that the symbolism will manifest in some way. And it's just like clockwork. So the birth chart is very reliable in that way. The big, 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 big overall thing is stay out of fear. Stay out of fear. Turn off the television. Don't listen to mainstream news, because it's just all full of drama and negativity. I think my frequency jumped as soon as I turned off the television in March 2020. I just wasn't going to listen to that anymore. That is not my timeline. It might be somebody else's timeline, but it's not going to be mine from this point on. Because if we're receiving that negative narrative the whole time, then we aren't being masters of our destiny. Our lives have to be created from within us, inside out, rather than outside in, being buffeted along by the next scary thing and another really big scary thing. Can you believe little green men? And next big scary thing. We have to manifest our reality with love, compassion, big-heartedness, and we have to choose our thoughts and choose our emotions almost on a minute-by-minute basis to say, this is what I'm going to manifest in my life. Yeah. And this is where we're going with our mastery. We're going to become much more conscious and aware of how we do that with our frequency and energy. And I just say really to people that, if you're listening to something or viewing something that you think, it's just taking my frequency down, switch it off and go and hug a tree, listen to the birds, hug a child, hug your dog, anything that will just take you up a few notches. And even if necessary, stick Post-it notes around the house saying, what are you thinking about? What's your frequency?
Yes.
So stay out of fear, stay in love, because they're two ends of one stick. If you're in fear, you can't feel love. And if you're in love, you can't feel fear. So yes. Choose which end of the stick you're going to focus on.
And oftentimes I've noticed that people are so caught up in the behavior of the drama that they don't know when they're in it. And it's going to take some time to breathe and learn, constantly checking in with the self. Is your heart rate up? Is your blood pressure up? What's causing that? Right? So taking small steps first, to be aware of what's happening with the body, because I think the body is going to help us also navigate through this. If there's a health issue, relax, step back. It's the breathing that's going to bring us back as well, the breath.
I totally agree with that, Melinda. And the simple act of closing your eyes, dropping into your breath, and automatically your breath starts to slow and deepen. That simple act changes biomarkers in your blood. It reduces your cortisol. It boosts your immune system in minutes. And that's free and available for everyone. So just have an incredibly simple toolkit. All the things I talk about are free practical and accessible. You don't have to go on a course, you don't have to read a book, you don't have to pay money. You just have to drop into the breath, shut your eyes and drop into the breath, and stay away from the mainstream narrative. Because if you stop listening to it, it's all just noise. I mean, for thousands and thousands of years, we've had wars, disease, sickness, on and on and on. And once you stop listening to it, if you very occasionally catch it, if I'm paying for petrol in my local garage, they'll have a radio on and I'll catch it. And I think, my goodness, I used to listen to that. And you can see it with such transparency. How did I ever listen to that? What a waste of my time and frequency that was. And you really get the contrast then. So stay high, stay on your eagle's perch, be objective, always take a step back. If there's any scary information that's coming into you, take a step back and ideally turn it off and say, I'm going to turn towards something loving.
Yes, wonderful advice. Very encouraging. There is one aspect of your self that I wanted to bring up. I know you channel. I absolutely feel it within me that there is a higher frequency that comes through you with this work, and it's delightful. And I'm so happy you're sharing it. Really.
Oh, bless you, Melinda. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely. And this channel that you bring forward is so prolific, and it's so passionate, and it's so excited. You can't help but jump on the wave of that. Yeah. So right now, between 2022 and 2024, we're going to learn to ride the wave and breathe and look for each other, those that resonate at the frequency, and not to worry about those that are not there yet.
Yeah.
I think that is a key piece we need to bring in here is if you feel, everyone's on the path. Don't hold yourself back thinking you have to bring someone with you. They will come themselves. They will get there.
Yeah, if you imagine you're going to a big airport, some people are on the faster track escalators, others are on the slower track, but we're all going to get on the same plane at the end of the day.
That's right.
It's that kind of image. And so everybody's on their soul journey. Everybody's had different lifetimes. They've got a different soul contract. So, and we have learned so much over the last few years. A few years ago, I didn't know all that I know now. And so don't give people a hard time if they're not at the same place as you. Send them love, send them compassion, and we all move forwards together.
Yes, because
we're moving towards unity consciousness.
It's important not to judge. Judging will hold back the frequency.
Yeah, it's really low frequency. Judgment is really low frequency.
Yeah. And that includes judging ourselves. So we want to, we need to give ourselves a break, a vacation, a staycation, relax, and we can co-create the secret language of the universe. I just adore that book, by the way. And for those of you that are interested in following up with your birth chart, you can access a free birth chart on Pam Gregory's website. It's easy and it'll be right there for you. And then she offers tools to help you learn how to read it. I did it myself. I looked it up. It was, it's always fun to see what your own chart looks like. And to know that your blueprint, your DNA of your path is there, and it's there to assist you as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that chart then works like clockwork for this lifetime, not in terms of level of consciousness, but pattern. The pattern is incredibly reliable, but what the chart can't give you is the level of consciousness at which somebody is playing the music. And my job as an astrologer is to help people elevate their level of consciousness to play the music more magnificently. That's a great job to have.
And do you ever notice, or have you equated any part of the chart in terms of akin to being to karma? So would there be things in the chart that might be karmic ideas, maybe even for a country, if not for a person, that must be overcome? I mean, is the chart set as something that we overcome, or we have an opportunity to shift? Or do you understand my question? It's a little
vague. No, no, absolutely. I mean, in traditional astrology, Saturn, the planet Saturn, which is to do with the father and discipline and hard work and responsibility, is considered to be the planet of karma. But actually, everybody's chart is a combination of gifts and challenges. So they'll be bringing forwards gifts and abilities and skills that they probably are bringing forwards almost certainly from previous lifetimes, but they will also have challenges. And I can see that very clearly. Is there an issue with mother or father or health or whatever? It's as clear as crystal. And it's like the information in an acorn. You can see when that information is ready to unfold and when the challenges would appear. But it's always purposeful, even if it's very difficult. It's in order that our souls will grow in a particular quality. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in our birth chart. It isn't just to punish us. It's to help us evolve, that various parts of us have to strengthen or develop in a way that they haven't done before. And this is very much also linked to the nodal axis, which is what How to Co-Create Using the Secret Language of the Universe is about, because that nodal axis, the south node, is about bringing forwards the gifts and skills and abilities we've learned in a past life or past lives, but having an absolute arrowhead, compass needle to what we have to focus on in this life in order to get soul satisfaction, if you like, sufficient soul's growth in this life. And that was fascinating to write, because the whole shape of the chart, as I was writing it, morphed from being circular into almost like a teardrop shape, but the pointy bit was the north node. That is where we're headed in terms of our individual soul's path of growth. And I couldn't get that image out of my mind. And everything else in the was the cavalry, just backing it up.
So that brings me to challenges in your field. What have you felt like you've had to overcome being an astrologer or bringing this type of work forward?
Oh, big time ridicule. Particularly when I was working in the corporate world, if people, discovered I was an astrologer, they would have a particular view of me as being successful in the corporate world, clearly had half a brain, had done well. And then they discover I had this passion about astrology, and they kind of me in a conspiratorial way and kind of whisper in my ear, now, come on, you can tell me you don't really believe in astrology, as if I'd slipped into somebody who was instantly remedial and needed therapy. And yet I was the same person. So there was such a grand canyon of misunderstanding of what the subject was, when it was so revered in ancient history, in ancient times. So that's why I had to write the book, to kind of straddle that Grand Canyon of how can it have fallen so far from being part of the mystery schools to where we are today. And my purpose really in writing that book was to edge it up a few notches.
Well, I think that with any esoteric field like dowsers and, metaphysicians, mediumship, astrology, I mean, it's gone through the washing machine. It really has. And hopefully we're spinning dry and coming out all nice and clean and shiny, because it's really had its ups and downs, from spiritualism and all of that moving forward. So.
Yes, and science was so elevated, particularly from the times of Newton and the age of reason, and mind became separate from spirit, and astrology fell from being very respected in society, and it was very much only the educated classes would learn astrology, along with theology and medicine, etc. I mean, you couldn't be a doctor in the Middle Ages unless you understood astrology and the four humours. As being part of health and disease. So it fell a very long way into the kind of tawdry, farmers' almanacs and, sort of backroom readings. And it fell very far because it could not be proved by Newton's laws of gravity. It could not be proved by that. And therefore, it wasn't true science. And therefore, it was poppycock, essentially.
Yes.
But now we're having a very different view that, we live in a holographic universe. And that's partly what my first book was about as well. We live in a holographic quantum universe where via that paradigm, we are seeing that astrology actually fits perfectly.
Oh, not only that, it's a guidepost. It's wonderful to have it as something we can lean on a little bit to help us.
Yeah, it's a great cosmic map individually and collectively, but particularly individually. Absolutely, 100%.
Yes. So I'm wondering if there's any words of wisdom you'd like to impart. I mean, as my friend again says, how good can it get after 2024? How do you see it after 2024?
Yeah, I see it getting better and better. I think 2024, I mean, we're going through big shifts of consciousness all the way through, because the light is the game changer right now. As astrologers, we all of us look back and say, okay, well, what happened at this cycle last time? Let's go back and see what happened last time. And what can we estimate that will replay as an echo of what happened last time? And they are game changers here. A dimension we've never had to include in astrology that shifts the whole dimension. And so those jumps in consciousness will continue through the coming years. I think 2024 will be a big year for jumps in consciousness as well. And from that point, it just keeps on rolling. And the world gets better and better. And it's been said that we are moving into a golden age. I mean, Rory Duff, as I say, sees it from December 2024 as 200 years of peace. The ancients saw 2032 as the beginning of the golden age. But many spiritual people, myself included, are seeing that we're ahead of schedule with that. I think we're going to hit the golden age by 2030. And 2030, of course, has a resonance for a very different agenda, which is not on my timeline. I'm on a different timeline.
Oh,
I'm on the golden age timeline.
I'm on the golden age timeline with you.
So focus on love, create. Love your neighbor, love with compassion, find like-minded people, be hugging, laughing, open-hearted, and say, what can we create together that is beautiful, magnificent, and better than we have ever lived in this lifetime and probably many lifetimes? How can we make this magnificent through love? And it's all through love. It's all about frequency. Look what love built in. Another thing that came through in a recent video was starve out the scary, love in the good. Starve out the scary, love in the good. Don't give the scary a moment of attention, not a moment, because the way quantum reality works, the way energy works, is if we give something our attention, we are literally giving it food. We're strengthening and energizing it. So just starve it out. Focus. You get what you think about all day long. So focus on what you want more of in your life to bring in with love.
Beautiful. Wonderful. You're just lovely. I'm so grateful to be speaking with you. And thank you for bringing such a beautiful spiritual insight to astrology to us, and then some. And your encouragement and your light really shines through. We're deeply grateful. Thank you, Pam Gregory, for being a guest of Wisdom.
Yeah, Melinda, thank you so much for the opportunity. It was a real joy to connect with you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Oh, thank you.